Welcome back to the Sibling Trap podcast. It's a little different this week. First of all, you get to see us. Second of all, neither of us are where we were last time we did a recording. I'm in my car in a Kohl's parking lot because I have, it's just good energy over here. We're manifesting good energy today. And Barry, tell us, where are you zooming in from?
So this weekend, I spent most of the weekend moving into my new apartment in Pearland, about 30 miles from where I was before, which is great. Um, it's going to be a completely like new, fresh start. Enjoying it very, very much. And I'm on a brand new couch in a beautiful apartment. Couldn't be any more blessed, if you want to call it that.
Look at you. New life.
New everything.
How do you feel after launch week?
Honestly, I feel great. A lot of the conversations that we had were very deep. The biggest thing was like, we're getting through like a lot of phases of my life. I know it was kind of long, not quite the elevator version like we had hoped, but
It's all good.
The coolest thing was I felt a big sense of relief after our recording session. And the biggest thing for me was talking about those kinds of things. And I've spoken to friends and dad. I've talked to dad a lot about my experiences through the last 20 years. Even though that I've done that before, I didn't feel the sense of relief that I did after we recorded, because getting it out there in a way that is healthy is really what changed that perspective for me. Because, and I'm not saying that the ways that I've shared my history or my story with other people has been unhealthy, but a lot of it's been over drinks or while we're blackout drunk, and things like that tend to bring the negativity out instead of the positivity. And when I spoke with you over our recording session, that was so positive, and I felt a lot better after the fact. So it was
That's
great.
awesome.
And the feedback that we've gotten, 90% of it has been fantastic, and everybody's super excited. And we can feel that energy from those people. And the other 10%, everybody has their haters, and we're here for it. Honestly, we're our biggest critics, but you can't please everybody. We
No.
have a lot of controversy in a lot of different aspects of life between you and I both, and that's what this is for. In my book, this is supposed to bring out that controversial side of everything, because you
And I
can't
think a
hide
lot
from
of
it.
it is like the audacity to still look for the good and become a better person and not be like vindictive all the time. It's like, let's just choose to take the healthier high road. And not a
Right.
lot of people can do that. And not a lot of people see how that's done. So that's really cool. And plus, like the haters listen, they're still giving us the views. So it's like, hey, thanks for adding another city to the
Yeah.
locations, which was kind of funny.
Just thank you for
Uh,
listening every time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I want to say like we are for week one we had like over 33 different cities listening, which to me I was like that's really cool like for week one. So thank you all for listening to the episodes and for just like sharing your support. I know I cried a couple times in the past week and I can blame it on the planets, I can blame it on other things, but I was just like I felt so like overflowing with gratitude in a way that I never have before, which was really cool. Did you feel the same type of emotion?
Yeah, I sure did. The biggest thing for me was I was just happy. Like I would think about how many people are listening, the fact that we're international too. Like
Yeah.
we've got people in Greece and all these other countries listening, and just to think about the impact that we're having.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is, like I told you, if I help one person cope with something that they're going through in life, whether it be a veteran or just a normal guy that's going through these rough breakups and being mistreated by women the way that they have been to me, and if I'm helping one person cope with that, then I'm happy. That's what I want. This really isn't for me as much as it is for reaching out and gaining that community that you and I are setting out to get. So
I think that's
I
a perfect segue into the Patreon, which I'm excited for because, it's not like I don't feel like it's common for a new podcast to have such an excited community straight out the gate. Through the Patreon, it's like a place where we can get together once a month and have these conversations like in real time live on Zoom like this, but with the community as well, which is like so special. And for people that don't feel like they have a community of support, like this is the perfect thing to join. Even if you don't feel comfortable on camera, like you don't have to be on camera, you could just join the chat. So if you're interested in that, you can head over to our Instagram or our website, thesiblingtrap.com, and sign up. It's $5.55 a month, which so happens to be one of Barry and my favorite numbers. So I was like, that just works out really well.
Patreon, I'm
Yeah.
super excited for it because like there's a lot of people that follow you that I don't know and I haven't met, and to have that opportunity, like we live in 2023 about to be 2024. I think it's incredible that we can actually do stuff like that. Thinking back to the times like when I was in Iraq, I mean back then it was like Skype, and
Yeah.
good luck getting a good video quality out of anything that was happening. I mean, yeah, I was on the other side of the world and like not the best country, but to be able to do these kinds of things where we actually have like a full-on community meeting with our followers and our listeners, I think that's incredibly awesome, and I'm really really excited for it. I'm excited to meet people and hear their thoughts and their views and what they can do to help us share. Absolutely. But yeah, let's get into it. So this is a topic that Katie and I both, maybe I feel like we're gonna have some very very contradictory viewpoints or points of view. But some coworkers and I were discussing this topic specifically this week, and it was already on the prompt. And as soon as I read it, I was like, we need to talk about this, because this is something that a lot of people I think also are going to have some conflicting ideas on. I mean, it's a real
Yeah.
controversial subject. So,
Yes. Without any
so
further
the
ado.
the the question is, can a man be friends with a woman without ulterior motives? And then also, how do you feel about girlfriends having friends who are men? So both sides of the coin here, man or woman, having a friend, platonic friend outside of the relationship. Do you want to start, or do you want me to get into it?
Okay, well, I will say I can't go too much into it, but through my marriage, that was 8 years or whatever, I really didn't have other male people that I would be speaking to like regularly. Just like go check in every once in a while, like, how are you doing? Congrats on this, congrats on that. But I will say that it is very interesting the week that I announced my divorce, how many people from my past who just so happened to be men just pops into my DMs like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." To me, it's like an immediate like, "I don't want to be in the friend zone." Like, I'm interested in you. So that's interesting to navigate, like just from the woman's perspective of like, okay, you haven't spoken to me in so many years, and now you're popping up. So that is the only time I've really like um, felt like it's obvious to me. Like, how can a man like be a friend with a woman if they're just like popping up at a timely situation like that?
Do you think that's like red flag central?
That's like I don't.
Like they were just waiting? Like you think maybe they were watching the whole
Yeah,
time during your marriage, waiting for the moment to be like, oh, here's my chance. Let me shoot my shot kind of thing,
right. Totally.
That's crazy. Yeah, crazy to think. I had a similar experience when I mean throughout several breakups, but what's crazy to me is hearing it from a woman is like completely different, because like men are supposed to be the type to like ask a girl on a date kind of thing.
Right.
And when somebody says, "Oh, hey, I just noticed you're single again. Let's hang out." And I'm like, "What, you want to
Okay.
go to a park or you know?"
No.
Like what's this
Are you
hangout?
into
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Like,
So
let's not.
it's
We're not going there.
Right. So it's tough, man, because I mean, they didn't speak to me the entire time I was with, this person or that person, So it's the same thing, red flag. It's like, hey, have you been waiting for the opportunity to say this, or are your motives like sincere? Are they genuine? Are you actually interested in me, or is it just, hey, let's hook up? Because it's hookup culture, and
Right.
I can't stand it. It's just not who I am. I prefer to date, feel things out, get into the relationship, versus let's just jump into the sack kind of thing. It's just not my vibe, you know.
Listen, like, I know that there's going to be rebound, but I think you have to get really clear on, like, what you're looking for. It's like, if you're looking for that type of thing, like, then you have to be in a totally different energetic space because people get attached really easily and then things get messy and they get sticky and
Big X,
no.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
the issue. And it's, rebounding is, I don't like it. The whole saying, you got to get under someone to get over someone. Jesus, dude, that is,
right.
I mean, it sounds
Toxic.
terrible because yeah, it's just, it sounds toxic, man. But at the same time, you got to think about it. Like, if you're depressed, right, and you're going through a breakup, and you're sitting there and you're, what do I do? What do I do with my time? It's a great way to deflect, and it's a great way to, distract. But is it
Mhm.
healthy? Is it healthy? Is the question. And honestly, I don't think it's healthy. It might be fun, and you might have a good time, and you might meet a girl and hit things off like immediately. But what are the chances of that? I mean, it's got to be slim, like 10% chance that it's a girl that you're actually going to be able to date and get interested with. So if you think about it, doing those rebounds actually hurts you in the long run, because it kind of ruins your chances with girls sometimes, or men, because
Yeah.
if you're like, oh, I'm only in it for the sex, or oh, I'm getting over my ex, so I'm toxic and I'm jaded, that person's getting a completely, like, I mean, filtered view of you, because you're in a bad headspace a lot of times, like, I can't speak for every relationship that I've been through, but like afterwards, after the breakup, it's always been kind of like tough. A few months I needed for that mental clarity to come through, to stop being jaded, to stop blaming women. I'm guilty of it. I see women and I'm like, oh, either you want what's in my pocket, you want what's in my pants, you're not interested in what's in my heart, what's in my mind, for a few months. And then it's like, hey, now I can build those foundational friendships with these women, and really get into it. So, but like from a friendship point of view, so let's get back to the prompt here. Can you be friends with somebody, whether they're in a relationship or not in a relationship, without wanting to date that person, have sex with that person? It's from a man's point of view, and I'm not generalizing men, and I'm not speaking for all men, obviously. It's hard. It is hard, especially if, like, you feel a connection with that woman, because I mean, the saying is, men think with their other head, and it's sad but true. And a lot of women that I've been with, like been friends with, it's tough to keep those things platonic sometimes, just because, I mean, I'm a pretty good looking guy. I take care of my body. I'm a great dad. These are all qualities that women are looking for in a partner. And I think that, and I'm not bragging by any means, but I think that women have a tendency of falling in love too, like falling for a friend, and I've had experiences in the past where I've had to friend zone women, and that sounds crazy because, like, like, guys are always the ones that are always getting friend zoned, and you know from a point of view, from the man's perspective, it's like, what do I have to do to impress this girl to get out of the friend zone? But
Mhm.
I've been that way. I've had to tell women, hey, I'm just not interested in anything other than us being friends. Just because like I see the qualities that they possess or they display, and I'm especially now, I'm trying to keep my mind focused on what I really want out of a partner, and not ignore the red flags and not put the rose colored glasses on and see, oh, well, this woman, she's great at this and this and this, she's needs some work in this, and this category, whatever those are. But it's really, honestly, it's about law of attraction. If you're trying to attract the woman that you want with those qualities that you're looking for, but you're out here sleeping with this girl and sleeping with that girl and like trying to get close to this girl and that girl, basically playing the game. When are you ever how are you ever going to expect to even find or attract the real woman that you're looking for? Because you're going to be blurred vision the whole time. I mean, that's just my perspective.
Do you prejudge a woman? Like, if you're not attracted to her, be like, "You know what? I could be friends with her." Or if, like, if you find her attractive, like, do you just, like, kinda block it out altogether? Like, how does that work as a man?
I mean, that's tough. uh I wouldn't say prejudging. I would say observation, right? I'm observing this woman from my perspective because it's all perspective based. Dang, that's a tough one. Uh, so if you're actually attracted to this person and you're like, man, I could see myself dating her, but I don't want to rush into it, or maybe she's not ready, maybe she's not interested. You have to filter. You have to be like, okay, this girl's really hot. And I have a couple friends like this right now. I mean, I have an Instagram crush, by the way. Can't disclose her name because
Am
she
I
has no
supposed to be
idea.
cutting that out?
Uh, no, no, it's okay. Um, it's just like a little playful thing. We talk not a lot, but we talk here and there. And she's really, really nice and really, really pretty. Oh my gosh. But like, think about that. Like, so if I were to be like, hey, let's hang out, or if I bump into her somewhere, right? Like socially, I'm with some friends, she's with some friends, and we meet up. You have to you have to filter. You do, from a man's perspective, because you don't want to screw things up. Like friendship wise, like that relationship or friendship is more important to me than those ulterior motives. The oh, I wish she would fall for me, or I wish we would fall in love together. Because honestly, I'm not ready for it still. It's been a couple months. I have goals. I have ambition. And having a partner right now just doesn't serve those goals or that purpose. And you have to ignore it. You have to at least ignore it. Because if you're in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh man, this girl is really pretty. Oh, she's really sweet. Oh, she's nice and everything that I've been looking for, the timing isn't there. But it's tough to think about, because if you're putting that person, I mean, because you can also look at things in a different relative point of view. You could be like, oh, well, maybe there's a reason why she's in my life now. And maybe I am super attracted to her. Maybe I should take that shot. Like, it's tough
Mhm.
because I mean, you're weighing that friendship against the potential relationship. And what's even worse is if she's showing some interest too, and you're like, oh no, so we're both kind of hitting it off or whatever. But the whole idea is like, you don't want to rush things. You want that love to grow. And being friends with somebody first is like number one to me right now. Like, I don't want to jump into anything. I want a person, a partner that I can be friends with first, because
Yeah.
that's a good foundation to build on, in my opinion.
So I feel like, that brings up something for me in the way of, like, I've always just kind of jumped into something and
Guilty.
without being friends first, right? So, like,
Right.
one reason why my marriage fell apart, it was, like, towards the end, I was like, "Well, we don't have anything in common." Like, we don't have any shared interests. Like, let's start something new together. Like, let's learn a new hobby together. And I think that was a really harsh wake up call, you know? Like, I can't be with someone who despises Taylor Swift. Like, let's just be fucking real. Okay? Like, that is a non-negotiable for me in my house.
Deal
But
breaker.
it's totally a deal breaker, and it sounds so stupid, but, like, that is what brings me joy. It's what brings my children joy. But there's just, like, I wanna do things right next time. Like, and right is relative, right? But, like, it felt so wrong to not have anything in common with the person that you've been married to for so many years other than, like, we made children.
It's tough, you know. And what's even crazier is you might fall for somebody and then you both change.
Yeah,
I've experienced that. I've experienced having a lot in common with somebody off the bat initially, and then the whole world just flip flops, or that person's stuck in their ways and they don't want to grow. That's like real big for me. Growth
yeah,
is everything. If we're not growing individually and together, what are we doing? Why are we here? Those are
ex
like the initial questions that pop into my head. It's like, if I'm bettering myself and trying to be a better person or a better father or a better boyfriend, husband, whatever, but you are still doing the same thing you were doing 3 years ago, I don't think it's gonna work, you know? And that's
yeah.
tough. That's tough to deal with because you want the best for that person. You want them to succeed and to have ambition and just be ready for what's coming in life, but you can't force somebody. And that's the worst part about it, is that you just have to kind of let them go on their own path, you know?
So, I have a question, like, if you were if you were friends with a woman and she was in a relationship, like, what are some hard rules that you have that you don't cross? So that way, like, you don't, make the her husband or her boyfriend, like, second guess your intentions.
It's tough too, because a lot of guys are paranoid and they're like, "Whoa, this guy, what about him? You know, like, what do you all talk about?" And I've been in those relationships where I was that guy. And from that perspective, it's hard because you're like, well, she says you're just a friend, but like, are you just a friend? Like, why are you talking so much? What are you talking about? It's very toxic to think
Yeah,
those things. And I don't ever really, honestly, Katie, I haven't been in that position where I've felt secure enough to not question guys that were friends. And it's toxic and I hate it. I mean, it's all part of coping with your own toxicity, you know, and healing from that. As the guy friend, I mean, it's you have to have clear intentions, 100%. The things you talk about can't be seen as questionable. So, like, if you're like telling a girl, "Hey, gorgeous," or "Hey, beautiful," all the time, probably not. Probably not going to go well with Mr. Boyfriend or husband, you know. And that those are, I know that those are just descriptive terms, but it's really, honestly, is it your place to say those things to somebody? And
yeah,
it's not okay. It's not okay. And I've experienced it, and it makes my blood boil because I'm like, well, why are you commenting on that? You know, why are you saying she's gorgeous? You know, like, yeah, we all know she's gorgeous. You know, especially me. I know, I see her every day. You know, the kind of thing. But you have to think about it. Should it bother you as the person in the relationship if that girl is faithful and if she's like, you know, shutting that person down? And that's the big thing too. If she says, like, let's say hypothetically, a guy is in a girl's DMs, in your girlfriend's DMs, right? And you see, "Hey, gorgeous, have a great day," or, "Oh, I think you look beautiful today," in whatever, you know, or, "Oh, I was at the store and I saw you and you looked beautiful." Those are different ways to say the same thing. But, you know, honestly, if she's like, "Hey, that makes me uncomfortable," back to that person, then, you know, like, you got a good one. But
yeah,
if they say, oh, you don't need to worry about that because I'm with you and he's just a friend. I mean, it feels like you can trust her. And if you can trust her, then by all means. But like in my book, if she's not shutting that person down like instantly and like, hey, don't talk to me like that, I'm in a relationship, have better respect, then buddy, you got things to worry about, you know?
Yeah.
And I hate saying that because it happens a lot. And there are creeps out there, dude. I've had experiences where I was standing there with my significant other and another guy kissed her on the cheek in front of me. And boy, was I mad. I was like, what the hell? And she didn't stop him. She didn't say, hey, don't ever do that again. She let it happen. And for the hell of me, I still don't understand. That should have been the it. I like end. I should have just been like, nope, done, it, bye, see ya, no more. And it's as light as a kiss on the cheek, and it's whatever, you know. And receiving it from this specific individual, I would never think that she would have left me for that guy or done anything weird with that guy. And I'm sure it put her in a very awkward position. She should have shut it down. You know what I mean? There needs to be clear lines of intention. And like if you're just like the type of woman that's just, I don't like being mean to people and I don't like, confrontation, then you're not for me. That's really honestly that's just me. Yeah, I mean it's tough to say from the guy's perspective. Like I would never go around kissing another dude's girl on the cheek, on the hands, any of that stuff. Now, being supportive as a friend can also be seen as, hey, he's trying to get in your pants or he's trying to do this. But from my perspective, and I have a few girls that are with other guys, and it's all about your persona, the way that you deliver your message. If I was like, hey, congratulations on whatever, very platonically, or if I was like, hey, you guys look great together. There's a difference. There's a huge difference. And I think a lot of people, they're going to see the bad regardless. But like, if you're nice about things and if you're honest about things with your partner, there really shouldn't be any room for doubt. And that's what I think a lot of people are failing at.
When you get into a relationship, how do you like does anything change in your friendships with women? Like,
Ooh.
do you stop talking to them as much?
In my experience, I have a lot of that has to be with like how you talk to somebody when you're single, right?
Mhm.
Versus now I'm in a relationship, things are different. And, the flirtation, right? So me being a Gemini, right? It's a curse. I I'm such an extroverted introvert. Like I would rather be at home doing my own thing, but at the same time, like I'm able to be in a social situation and not necessarily be the life of the party, but I can turn a room. You know what I mean? I can turn a room.
Okay.
But the point is that I'm kind of a different person, and people are the same way. I mean, it doesn't matter what sign you are or what your personality is like, but people are different when you're single and when you're in a relationship. I think it changes you. I think it should change you. I don't think you should be out there flirting with guys if you're with another man, because it's all about respect to your partner.
But
And honestly, but at the same time, if you have platonic friendships where you're not flirting with each other, then there shouldn't be a change. You should
yeah,
be able to still have those same conversations like, hey, how's your kids doing? Like, or how are your kids doing? Or how's your son? How's he been? Or how are your parents? Because like there's women that like I've known since high school, and like I know their parents, and their
yeah.
parents might be sick or something, and it's like, I'm just checking up on you, like you said at the beginning. It's a lot less personal involvement and more on the lines of, I'm checking on you because I don't want to have a falling out, and I don't want to go 3 years without talking to this person, because you do share a friendship. It's tough because, like I said, a lot of those platonic conversations can be seen as more than that. And it just depends on what the topic is, you know. If you're like, if it's a girl, and I've had this before, a girl that I dated before getting into a relationship, had sex with, very interested in, and then things just didn't really pan out. And it's tough to say why. It's just maybe it was schedule or what. I'm not sure. It's hard to think about. But I got into the relationship with this other person, and then it was, hey, we've had sex, and it was great, but we're not allowed to talk about that ever again. Like that kind of thing.
Okay.
And honestly, like, it's a respect thing, like I said, because you if you're interested in somebody outside of your relationship, you shouldn't be in a fucking relationship with that person. I mean, I'm just gonna come right out and say it. If you have any, and it's tough because, like, building a relationship takes time, and early on in the relationship, like, you might not be solely invested in this one person. You might not like think, oh, I'll never have sex with another woman. The respect thing. You should be trying not to think about having sex with other women if you're dedicated and in a committed relationship. Is that easy to do? Fuck no. It's not, it's not. But you should do that. Honestly, I think you're really selling yourself short, and you're really like putting a hindrance on the relationship early on if you are thinking about other women in that respect. And I think it's mildly disrespectful for sure. And then the same thing
Mhm.
for women. Like, if you're at the bar or whatever, and a guy that you slept with comes up, and you're in a relationship, you're out with your friends, your dude's not there, and you're like hitting it off with this guy, like, I think that's a slap in the face of the guy in the relationship for sure, because it's not fair. I mean, everybody's got a past, and you have to be able to live with your own past and the past of your relationship, previous to what your current relationship is. But it's all about the respect, honestly, in my book.
That's a good place. Do you have any questions for me on that topic?
Yeah, from a woman's perspective, I mean, what do you do? Like, if so, hypothetically speaking, if you're in a relationship with a guy and things are going great, but let's say like your childhood crush reveals that they have a crush on you, and they like how you've changed, and who you've become, and all this stuff. Like, what do you do? Do you mildly entertain that person? Because, I mean, from my experience, a lot of women, they'll just keep dudes on the back burner, in the friend zone,
Yeah.
until they know that, like, or until the relationship they're invested in now doesn't work out. And that, from a guy's perspective, I could ask 100 guys right now, and they will all say the same thing, that women have the tendency of keeping dudes on the back burner just in case it doesn't work out. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Well, I don't think I've ever had anyone on the back burner because I didn't think I ever would need to have a back burner. So
Right.
that's
Invested.
also something.
Yeah.
Right. When you get married, you kind of think like, ah, I'm a one burner type of woman. If someone were to message me like that, I would either leave them unread, like I wouldn't even open the message if I could like preview it, right? Or I would just
Right.
say thank you. Like I wouldn't, it's not like I'm fishing for compliments. Like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, what do you like most about, like, I'm not gonna keep going on that, but I could be like acknowledge it and say thanks for the kind words. Like, but
Right.
I don't, yeah,
I feel
I
like you're
wouldn't,
one of a kind in that respect. Because from my experience, a lot of women will say things like, "What do you like about it?" Like
that's a
if a
red
guy
flag.
says, "Hey, like, nice dress." Oh, well, what do you like about the dress? The fact that it's tight and it's slimming, like,
Right. No.
cleavage. Like, I mean, there's a lot of sinister comments out there that I've experienced. And it begs the question of, like, who are you trying to attract? These sleazeball dudes who feel comfortable just messaging you on Facebook and saying, "Hey, you
Well,
look
now it's
gorgeous
like,
tonight."
it's a little bit sneakier now because you can just like do the reaction to their story, and it's not
Right.
really even like, because how many times do men like react to my story with a flame emoji? Like nothing has to be said. I don't have to
or
reply to it.
the
Right. But,
wow.
like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know your intentions, and I know, like,
right.
what you're saying without saying anything. So, like, in that way, like, I guess that's the easy way of navigating that. You don't have to, like, "What do I say back?" You can just ignore it. I don't know.
It's still really tough though.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's great.
I'm jaded, but I feel like a lot of women, single or not, they put things out there on social media to get those reactions.
Mhm. Well,
You know,
everyone likes to feel validated. Like, I people like the attention, right? You want to feel wanted, but
right,
who are the people that are gonna speak the loudest? Are those the people you
right,
want to be talking to?
yeah, and that's tough because I mean, when you're in a relationship, it's not okay. You know, for you to seek the attention of others outside of your relationship. And when you're single, like, do you, boo boo? Like, I don't, whatever. You're trying to attract the right person, and if you want 10 guys versus, one guy, I mean, your odds of finding that person that you want to go up, like I
Right.
get that putting yourself out there is the only way that you're gonna, well, I can't say the only way, but the better your chances are of finding a partner. I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, I'm a recluse. I'm gonna be inside, doing my thing. A girl is gonna have to hit me with a brick for me to see her, or hit me with a liquor bottle, break a liquor
Right.
bottle over my head, and be like, "Hey, you're coming with me," you know. And
Oh,
that's
dude.
just perspective, But and I think social media has a lot of guilt in this, and that's something I think a lot of people can agree with me on, just because it's so easy to get likes these days. If
Mhm.
you're pretty, or you're out traveling, right? You're traveling to all these places and you're posting all these pictures, and people are going to, I mean, they're going to react to that. Now, if you're like depressed and you're in your apartment and you're taking selfies like up on your face like all day, every day, people are also going to react to that. They may not openly react like your pictures, but they're going to say, oh man, this guy is like, yeah, he's not doing shit. Like he's depressed all the time. Or like,
Yeah.
I had a tendency of posting the sappy stories, and people are like messaging me, "Hey, did you just go through a breakup? Oh, was it fucking obvious?" Like, so then I
Oh my
had to get
god.
out of that. I had to get out of that mentality, like sharing those sappy posts, because it's like, man, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to look like that. You know what I mean?
I
And
think a
it's
lot
tough,
can
but
be said without saying anything. Like,
right.
my thing is I always am very selective at, like, which part of a song I will post in my stories.
We're the same.
Yes.
You pick out the specific lyrics, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Like,
yeah.
very specific. So, like, is it cryptic? Yes. Are we millennials? Yes. But, like, we don't really have to dive into what's going on. We can just, like, post that one clip and everyone will know.
Right.
That is funny. But okay, so like where would you meet friends if not on social media? Like I know that you're on this like journey of like bettering yourself and like, not turning to the same type of scene that you were before, like with the alcohol and the bars and all of that. So like and you tend to like stay at home. So like where would you even go about finding these types of friends that would turn into relationships? And you probably don't know the answer to this, but I'm just curious.
I mean, I'm working on it. It's definitely a work in progress. Um, it's tough because, yeah, most of my friends are in the bar industry, and I'm trying not to be sucked into that scene anymore. I'm not a church goer, so I'm not like, oh, I'm gonna meet a godly woman at church. It's
Oh
not
my
really
god, no.
my type of thing. That's what Dad would
No.
say.
It's just not
I
church.
would say, yeah, I would say that it's tough because I'm trying to, I'm still trying to have friends, and I've got a couple of friends from work that I've hung out with outside of work that invited me out to, a restaurant, right? Like, hey,
Mhm.
a bunch of us are going to get dinner. I mean, I was getting tattooed at the time, and I couldn't make it, but like those are the kinds of social interactions or engagements that I'm looking for. Work friends are great. I had a dream the other night that I like I said, I have an Instagram crush, and like I'm hoping that one day I'll just bump into her kind of
Right.
situation.
Manifest that.
Yeah, and I've I've asked a couple girls on dates like, hey, let's go grab dinner, and it hasn't really worked out because of the schedule that I have. And honestly, I'm really just looking for friends. Even if I went on a date with a girl and went to get dinner, like there's no anticipation of that girl's going to come back to my apartment or any of that kind of stuff. Like I'm not, even if she was like totally down, like DTF is,
Yeah.
I would just be like, hey, I'm not ready for that yet. Yet.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's tough. You're right. Because I am, reclusing, and I'm focusing on myself, bettering myself, and also entertaining myself. And that's a big deal. That's something that I've always been able to do. I could be alone. Being alone isn't easy for a lot of people. A lot of people need another person, or they need that constant validation from other people. I'm much the opposite, because I can just be by myself, entertain myself, find things to do by myself, go adventuring, day adventuring. I'll drive around Houston sometimes and just go look at the street art. It's tough because finding a person to do those things with, sounds fun in theory, but in my mind I'm like, meh, just do it alone. You'll feel better. It's more about personal growth and entertainment. Now, I have kind of like a running joke with my best friend Scott that I'm running these marathons, and my supervisor at work, they joke, they're like, oh, you'll be fine, you just be running on your marathon and you'll find a hot girl running and you just run
Yeah.
with her, just run next to her. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool and all, except we're gonna be like dying, we're gonna be in pain, we're gonna be like, this is not a good look. Knowing my luck, I'll be running and then I'll shit my pants or something. I hate the graphic. I'm sorry, but
Oh.
I'll be like, "Oh, this girl's so hot. Oh, we hit it off for like 30 minutes and we're talking about life." And then I'm like, "Oh man,
But listen, if
oops."
she can see you at your worst and like still
Right.
enjoy your presence, then that's good. It's a good sign.
That's it goes back to like I was reading David Goggins. You know who he is, right? Big speaker, big runner. Or
No.
used to run a bunch of. Okay, look him up when we get out of the call. But David Goggins is a big ultra marathon runner. He was also a former Navy SEAL, and he did all this other stuff. Like very
Okay.
very hard individual. He's a great motivational speaker. Puts things in perspective, especially for veterans. So if you ever want to listen to his books or whatever, he has them on Audible. But I was reading his second book. He has a woman in his life. I don't know if they're married or not. Wouldn't know, because I don't think he actually says anything like that. But he's in a relationship with this girl, and after a really long race, it's like 240 miles or something that he ran. Yeah, crazy. He's like in the hotel room or the Airbnb or whatever, and like his body is just like letting go of everything.
Okay.
And she's there, like, because she's there to support him in the race and after. And he's like sitting on the duvet, and it's just like going to
It's
town,
happening. Yeah.
and could you imagine somebody, like being with somebody on the level of where like they don't judge you for that kind of thing because you just completed a 240-mile race, like that's got
Yeah.
to be an incredible moment. And yeah, obviously as humans our bodies are just not, we're not equipped to handle that kind of stress, but to have somebody support you in your worst moments, god,
What's
if
that
I could
like?
find that. Yeah, if I could find that, you and I are going to end the podcast. I'll never ever have to cope with anything ever again. No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
never find that. We want to keep this going. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah, no.
Oh,
But
that's funny.
it was incredible hearing that or reading it, whatever, on Audible, and knowing that there are people out there like that, that have that. bond, that share that bond. And
Yeah,
that's incredible. It gives me
it's a
hope
good story.
for sure.
All right. I think that's a good place to wrap. Okay, we want
Word.
to hear from you though. What are your thoughts? Can a man be friends with a woman and not have ulterior motives? And, vice versa. Like, can you have female friends that are just friends? Reach out to us on Instagram in our DMs and review this podcast, rate this podcast. We love hearing what you guys are saying because it means so much to us and it also helps boost all of the eyes on the podcast. So thanks for listening. Any last words, Barry?
Nope, nope. Just think about it from perspective and respect. That's the biggest thing. I think a lot of people lack respect for their partners, and that's why a lot of people have problems. But
Yeah.
hell yeah, definitely hit us up. We're super happy to be here and to share our experiences and to hear feedback from everybody. And thank you guys so much for all the love from launch day. It was incredible hearing all the good things and the bad things.
Yeah.
So
All right. We'll see you next week, you guys. Thanks for listening.
much love.
Click.